Out of here. Get the out of here. Get out of here.
Freddie Roach is the most successful boxing trainer of the modern era. He turned unknown fighters into world champions and made legends out of good boxers.
But the actual head clash, that hurt too. Beautiful.
But behind all those victories and championship belts, there were some seriously ugly relationships that went completely wrong. We're talking about fighters who disrespected the man who made them famous, students who refused to listen and paid the price, and business partnerships that ended in bitter lawsuits and public insults. Roach never held back when fighters crossed him. He called them out in interviews, banned them from his gym, and sometimes even refused to work with their friends. The boxing world learned quickly that you don't mess with the trainer who built champions. From training camp disasters to contract disputes that destroyed friendships, we're counting down the 6 boxers who made Freddie Roach's life miserable. These are the fighters who turned one of boxing's nicest guys into their worst enemy. The number 1 spot will absolutely destroy you. We're talking about a betrayal so personal that it changed how Roach viewed loyalty forever. This is the story that proves even the closest relationships in boxing can turn toxic overnight. 6. James Toney. Starting at number 6 is James Toney, the naturally gifted middleweight who drove Roach crazy with his lazy attitude. Roach tried working with Toney in the early 2000s and quickly realized it was a huge mistake. Toney had incredible boxing skills but refused to train properly. He would show up late to the gym, skip conditioning sessions, and act like he knew better than everyone else. Roach was used to working with dedicated fighters who followed instructions, but Toney was the complete opposite. The breaking point came during sparring sessions when Toney would coast through rounds and then complain when Roach criticized his effort. Sources say Roach told Toney he was wasting his talent and needed to take training seriously if he wanted to achieve greatness. Toney allegedly laughed off Roach's advice and said he had been winning fights long before meeting him. This disrespectful response infuriated Roach, who had spent years building his reputation on turning raw talent into polished fighters. The relationship fell apart completely when Toney started missing scheduled training sessions without explanation. Roach eventually told Toney to find another trainer because he couldn't work with someone who didn't respect the process. Roach later said in interviews that Toney was one of the most frustrating fighters he ever encountered. Despite having championship-level skills, Toney's refusal to commit to proper training made him impossible to work with. Roach considered their brief partnership a complete waste of time and energy. The experience taught Roach that natural talent means nothing without dedication and proper work ethic in the gym. 5th, Floyd Mayweather Sr. At number 5 is Floyd Mayweather Sr., and this rivalry was all about professional jealousy and ego clashes. Both men were elite trainers competing for the same top fighters, and their public war of words got seriously nasty over the years. The conflict started when both trainers were trying to recruit the same promising prospects. Mayweather Sr. would publicly criticize Roach's training methods and claim he was overrated. Roach fired back by questioning Mayweather's ability to develop fighters without his famous son's help. Their media battles became legendary in boxing circles. Mayweather Sr. would give interviews saying Roach got lucky with Manny Pacquiao and couldn't create champions on his own. Roach responded by pointing out that Mayweather Sr. had only one truly elite fighter, and that was his own blood relative. The personal attacks escalated when Mayweather Sr. started mocking Roach's Parkinson's disease symptoms. Sources say he made cruel comments about Roach's trembling hands and suggested he was too sick to train properly. This crossed every line of professional respect and infuriated everyone in Roach's camp. Roach allegedly confronted Mayweather Sr. at a Las Vegas boxing event and told him to keep his medical condition out of their professional disputes. Witnesses say the argument almost turned physical before security intervened and separated the two trainers. The rivalry damaged both men's reputations in the boxing community. Other trainers and fighters started avoiding taking sides because the conflict had become too personal and unprofessional. Roach later said Mayweather Sr. represented everything wrong with boxing politics and trainer ego battles. 4. Antonio Margarito. Number 4 is Antonio Margarito, and this story gets dark fast. Roach initially respected Margarito as a tough Mexican warrior who always came to fight. But when the loaded gloves scandal broke, everything changed and Roach felt personally betrayed by the sport. Roach had watched several of his fighters face Margarito over the years. He always wondered why Margarito's punches seemed to hurt guys more than expected. When the illegal hand wraps were discovered before the Shane Mosley fight, Roach realized his fighters might have been victims. The revelation that Margarito had been using plaster-like substances in his wraps made Roach question every fight his boxers had with him. Roach started thinking about all the injuries his fighters suffered and wondered if they were caused by illegal tactics instead of clean punching power. Roach allegedly told boxing officials that Margarito should be banned for life from the sport. He believed anyone who cheated that blatantly didn't deserve a second chance. When Margarito was allowed to return after his suspension, Roach was furious with the boxing commissions. The personal anger came from feeling like he had failed to protect his fighters. Roach blamed himself for not investigating why Margarito's punches caused so much damage. Sources say Roach had nightmares about sending his boxers into fights against a cheater. When Roach encountered Margarito at boxing events after the scandal, he would refuse to acknowledge him. Other trainers say Roach treated Margarito like he didn't exist and would walk away if Margarito tried to approach him. The cheating scandal left permanent scars on Roach's trust in boxing integrity. 3. Oscar de la Hoya. At number 3 is Oscar de la Hoya, and this betrayal cut deeper than any other business relationship in Roach's career. De la Hoya was Roach's biggest star, and their partnership brought both men fame and fortune. But when it ended, it destroyed their friendship forever. Roach trained De La Hoya for some of his biggest fights and helped him capture titles in multiple weight divisions. They seemed like the perfect team with De La Hoya's talent and Roach's strategic mind. Everyone in boxing thought their partnership would last for years. The problem started when De La Hoya began questioning Roach's game plans and wanting more control over training decisions. Sources say De La Hoya started bringing his own people into camp and undermining Roach's authority with other fighters in the gym. The breaking point came during contract negotiations when De La Hoya's team tried to cut Roach's percentage and limit his role. Roach felt like he was being pushed out after building De La Hoya into a superstar. The business dispute turned personal when lawyers got involved. De La Hoya then made public comments criticizing Roach's training methods and suggesting he needed new ideas. This blindsided Roach, who thought their relationship was stronger than business disagreements. The public criticism damaged Roach's reputation and cost him other potential clients. Roach never forgave De La Hoya for the way he handled their split. He felt betrayed by someone he considered family and trusted completely. Sources say Roach still gets angry when De La Hoya's name comes up in conversation decades later. 2. Amir Khan. Number 2 is Amir Khan, the British speedster who became Roach's most frustrating student. Khan had incredible hand speed and Olympic pedigree, but he refused to listen to the one lesson that could have saved his career. Roach spent years trying to teach Khan proper defensive techniques and head movement. Khan's chin was always questionable, and Roach knew that his aggressive style would eventually get him hurt badly. But Khan ignored every warning and kept fighting recklessly. The training sessions became increasingly tense as Roach watched Khan make the same mistakes over and over. Sources say Roach would demonstrate defensive drills for hours, only to see Khan abandon them completely during sparring sessions the next day. Khan's attitude was the real problem. He would nod and agree with Roach's instructions, then do whatever he wanted in actual fights. Roach felt disrespected and frustrated watching years of teaching get thrown away for flashy offense and crowd-pleasing exchanges. The final straw came when Khan questioned Roach's expertise in front of other fighters at the gym. Khan allegedly said Roach was too old school and didn't understand modern boxing. This public disrespect crossed every line of trainer-fighter protocol. Roach kicked Khan out of his gym and told him to find someone else who would tolerate his stubbornness. The split became boxing news because everyone knew Roach rarely gave up on talented fighters. Khan's subsequent knockout losses proved Roach was right about his defensive weaknesses. Roach later said Khan was the most talented fighter who completely wasted his potential. The relationship failure became a cautionary tale about respecting your trainer's wisdom and experience. 1. Manny Pacquiao. And here we are at number 1, the heartbreak that shattered Freddie Roach's world. Manny Pacquiao. The fighter who went from unknown Filipino prospect to global superstar under Roach's guidance. Their split wasn't just business. It was family betrayal at its worst. For over a decade, Roach and Pacquiao were inseparable. Roach turned Pacquiao from a small flyweight into a welterweight destroyer who won titles in 8 different divisions. They created boxing history together and became closer than father and son. But success changed everything. Pacquiao's entourage grew larger and more influential. Religious advisors, business managers, and family members all started whispering in Pacquiao's ear about finding new directions. Roach watched helplessly as strangers gained control over his fighter. The religious conversion hit Roach the hardest. Pacquiao's new spiritual advisors convinced him that boxing was sinful and that Roach represented his violent past. Sources say Pacquiao started avoiding Roach outside of training and stopped including him in important decisions. The final betrayal came when Pacquiao announced he was switching trainers without warning Roach personally. Roach found out through media reports like everyone else. After everything they had accomplished together, Pacquiao couldn't even make a phone call. Roach was devastated emotionally. He had given Pacquiao everything and treated him like his own son. The public rejection left Roach questioning his entire career and legacy. Sources close to Roach say he cried when he heard the news. The split destroyed both their legacies. Pacquiao never looked the same with other trainers, and Roach never found another fighter who meant as much to him personally. From disrespectful students to heartbreaking betrayals, these relationships show how quickly boxing partnerships can turn toxic. Which story shocked you most? Drop your thoughts below and smash that like button. Subscribe for more explosive boxing secrets from inside the gym.